Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadramayi. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Buddhivajja Jagacharya Ashvatara Sattva Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Buddhivajja Jagacharya Ashvatara Sattva Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samalivatis. All glories to the Samalivatis. All glories to the Samalivatis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vasavutade Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namide Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyatyadedatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopakumaraya govindaya namo namaha. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 16th chapter, entitled Praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters. Sloka number 18. Dehinam Atmavat Preshtaha Suhridam Nandivardhanaha Mukta Sangha Prasangaha Ayam Dandapanihi Asadushu Sri Sri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki Jai. Dehinam Atmavat Preshtaha Suhridam Nandivardhanaha Mukta Sangha Pasangoyam Dandapanira Sadushu Dehinam Atmavat Preshtaha Suhridam Nandivardhanaha Mukta Sangha Pasangoyam Dandapanira Sadushu Dehinam Atmavat Preshtaha Suhridam Nandivardhanaha Mukta Sangha Pasangoyam Dandapanira Sadushu. Dehinam, to all living entities having a body. Atmavat, as himself. Preshtaha, considering dear. Suhridam, of his friends. Nandivardhanaha, increasing pleasures. Mukta Sangha, with persons devoid of all material contamination. Prasangaha, intimately associated. I am, this king. Dandapanihi, a chastising hand. Asadushu, to the criminals. Translation. The king will consider all embodied living entities as dear as his own self, and he will always be increasing the pleasures of his friends. He will intimately associate with liberated persons, and he will be a chastising hand to all impious persons. Please repeat. The king will consider all embodied living entities as dear as his own self, and he will always be increasing the pleasures of his friends. He will intimately associate with liberated persons, and he will be a chastising hand to all impious persons. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The word Dehinam refers to those who are embodied. The living entities are embodied in different forms, which number 8,004,000 species. All of these were treated by the king in the same way he would treat himself. In this age, however, so-called kings and presidents do not treat all other living entities as their own self. Most of them are meat-eaters, and even though they may not be meat-eaters and may pose themselves to be very religious and pious, they will allow cow slaughter within their state. Such sinful heads of state cannot actually be popular at any time. Another significant word in this verse is Mukta Sangha Pasangaha, which indicates that the king was always associating with liberated persons. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanam Janasaragaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavansya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidandam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitansya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from this chapter describing the qualities of King Prithu as predicted by the professional reciters, the Suttas and Madhagas, in a very beautiful slokas that we may always try to remember as the essential qualities of an ideal king. If anybody wants to know about political science, that should be part of the curriculum, because that refers to the ideal political leader, and everybody should know about it. Otherwise, how can you elect somebody? Actually, in democracy, even at the present time, we have no knowledge of who could be ideal leader, and still everybody is encouraged to go for voting, even though nobody has any knowledge of how to vote. So in this way, such a great leader as King Prithu may never come again as a leader in the present age of Kali. Kali Yuga is defined as age of darkness and hypocrisy. So therefore, there is hardly any chance for such a leader to come. But we can know from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam how King Prithu was the ideal king. And this is a great chance for being enlightened on the subject matter. Srila Prabhupada had great hope that sometime any important political leader may be following the principles of Krishna consciousness. He encouraged some of his disciples to become candidates for the post of mayor, but it was not successful. There was a campaign advertising all the principles of ISKCON. It was publicized everywhere, but it was not successful. Also, a lot of money had to be spent for that, which was a deterrent. How ISKCON members can be involved in political affairs, but if it is for the higher good, that could be done. But Prabhupada was thinking that maybe in the future, as ISKCON activities and preaching field penetrates the entire society gradually from one country to another, then out of the general population, somebody may become elected, even though he may not be a disciple, but he may know the principles of Krishna consciousness, and if he is elected, then he may try to implement them. So that's another alternative Prabhupada was thinking about when the preaching of ISKCON members is so well developed that it will affect every sector of the society, including the politicians. So that should be the objective for all of us, those who are engaged especially in the preaching field. So here we see in this sloka some of the most attractive qualities of King Prithu. Raja Rishi. He combines the quality of a perfect Raja and Rishi. Rishi means he has a spiritual vision. He does not consider that these citizens of the country is a part of material world and there is nothing beyond that. There is no spiritual goal in life and everything is simply a matter of economic development. That is mostly the agenda of the political leaders. First of all, they have to remain in power, so they have to be careful that the opposition should not be too powerful. And the other item is that they have to please the general public by promising them very good economic development so that everybody will be able to enjoy the material life to the maximum. So that is their platform. But here we understand that King Prithu is on a much higher platform, the Rishi. Dehinam atmavat preshtaha. He considered all living entities very dear, atmavat, as much as himself. We are very dear to ourselves. We are very careful about protecting our lives, our body, mind, and we want to be always happy in all circumstances. We avoid so many unpleasant events and circumstances. So we are very careful. We consider this ourselves to be the most dear, even if this so-called exchange of love, that is not for the sake of the other, that is for our own sake. if we develop love for somebody, that is simply for ourselves. It is selfish. There is no selfless love in anywhere in the material world. This is a general bent of mind. But Prithu Maharaj was different. He loved everyone. Everybody was dear to him, as much as dear to himself. So he had equal vision, considering himself as equal to others, deserving to be supported, to be loved, as much as loving himself. So that is the great quality that is possible only for one who has spiritual vision. Because otherwise, we consider everybody else to be different. And there are some philosophies, some philosophers, they say that everybody has to meet his own fate. We have to meet our own fate. Similarly, others also, they are bound by their own karma, their own fate. So what is the point in trying to help anybody? Because it is already predestined. So there is no question of lamentation or compassion or trying to help anybody. Let everybody help himself if he can. Otherwise, by destiny, that is the fate he is going to meet. And nobody can help. So King Prithu, as a leader for the entire world, was completely different. In his mind, he was considering that everybody should be loved and assisted. Everybody should get help so that everybody should be happy. Atmavat Preshtaha. So that is a very rare quality in the leader. Generally, it doesn't work like this. So in other words, a leader should be ready to sacrifice everything for the sake of others. That is the idea. And nobody should be allowed to be in difficulty. Srila Prabhupada comments very important in the purport. The meaning is that all species of life, not only human beings, but also animals, trees, fish, and any type of living entity should be happy and should never be disturbed or should not be harmed in any way. So in the commentary, Srila Prabhupada made a very strong point about political leaders being elected by human beings, but do not consider the fate of the animals, trees, and other living entities. They consider that human beings are at the center of creation and everything should be meant for the satisfaction of human beings. Human beings should be free to do anything for their own satisfaction, not considering the satisfaction of other living entities. And the example given here by Srila Prabhupada, that many of them are meat eaters, that means they are killing animals for the satisfaction of their tongue. And even if they are vegetarian, in rare cases, they do not stop animal killing, and especially cow killing. Everywhere, even in India, the cow killing especially is everywhere. The heads of states are not considering that this is a very essential aspect of their political rule. It is a very great sin, crime, and for that they have to suffer. Srila Prabhupada knew very well that all the wars that are happening in the world, one after another, even though there may be many peace associations, peace conferences, and so on, so many arrangements to establish peace in the world. But because these so-called peaceful leaders, they are encouraging animal killing, so the reaction must come in the shape of wars. And that is the law of nature. Talking about fatality and taking one's karma, that is the karma that must result. If, as long as animal killing is going on, there must be also killing amongst human beings. That is the reaction that cannot be avoided by the law of nature. So therefore, the very important aspect of a leader is that he should see that there should not be any animal killing as far as possible, and especially no cow killing. That should be completely prohibited. It is, in Kali Yuga especially, very difficult to stop sinful activities. Even prohibition, stopping alcohol drinking, and business, alcohol business, that was tried by some of the political leaders, not only in India, but also abroad, but it was not successful because of the influence of Kali Yuga. So, but cow killing should be prevented. Even if other animals are being killed, to allow meat eating, but meat eating should be confined to lower types of animals, but certainly not for the cows. So Srila Prabhupada, whenever he would meet some political leader, he would insist upon this prohibition of cow killing. And when they met Indira Gandhi, also Prime Minister, that was one of the items on the agenda, that cow killing should be totally prohibited. But none of these political leaders had the sufficient strength and determination and conviction to stop cow killing. That is going on to this day. Every day, cows are being sent to the slaughterhouse. So in this way, how can society be happy and peaceful as long as this animal killing, cow killing is going on? It is simply impossible. So we have to try to convince political leaders in this manner. If you want peace, then you must stop at least cow killing. That should be completely prohibited. So, Atmavat Prishtaha Dehinam. Nobody would like to go to the slaughterhouse. So it is not that the animals have no consciousness, that they are not suffering. That was also one point that Srila Prabhupada wanted to convince other religious groups who do not believe that animals, trees, plants, fish are spirit souls. They consider only human beings to have soul, human soul, meant for salvation. Other living entities are simply sophisticated bodies, but they don't have any soul. So they don't have any consciousness, no idea what is right, what is wrong. They have no idea what is happiness and suffering, and they are not conscious about death or about anything whatsoever in life. So therefore, animal killing is not important. It can be allowed because animals cannot understand what's happening. Sometimes we see one small boy with a small stick taking some sheep to the slaughterhouse. All the sheep are going, apparently happily going in front of the small boy. And if there is any grass before entering slaughterhouse, they will eat the grass and they will not have any understanding what's going to happen next to them. And they enter the slaughterhouse being killed like this. So if somebody sees that, he may also he may think that after all, yes, animals have no consciousness. They don't have any idea. They are simply happily living, eating grass, that's all. They don't have any other idea. So, it is not the case. All living beings are spirit souls. They are also meant for spiritual elevation. They are not meant to be harmed by anybody. And when Srila Prabhupada had conversations, for instance, with some of the leaders of the Catholic Church and Catholic community, he emphasized that point very much in a conversation with Cardinal Danielou in Paris. That was the main subject matter of that conversation. This cardinal means very high rank in the Catholic Church. That means he should be a very big pundit in spiritual matters. But he did not know, he had no understanding that all living entities are spirit soul, considering only human beings as having spirit soul. And everything should be centered around that. Human beings should be happy, and it doesn't matter if they kill animals or do anything against nature, because nature should be at the service of human beings. So, Srila Prabhupada tried to convince Cardinal Danielou that all living entities, equally, we should see them equally, spirit, soul. They are suffering also in the material world, and we should do everything for their elevation to a higher spiritual status. That is the proper understanding. Animals should be helped, just like in the Vedic society. The grihastas, after cooking, offering to the Lord, before eating, they go outside in the street and call for anyone who is hungry. That also includes animals. If any animal comes being hungry, the grihasta duty, his dharma, is to feed animals first of all, either milk or anything. So that is the duty according to Vedic civilization. Every living entity should be seen with equal vision. Vidya vina sampanne brahmane gavihastini sunichaiva srapakecha pandita samadarshina. A pandit is one who has equal vision. He sees spiritual entities. Even he may be a brahmana, very learned brahmana, or he may be an elephant, he may be a cow, he may be a dog or a dog eater, but a pandit sees everyone equally. So that is the vision. That was the vision of Prithu Maharaj. In this way, he could be the ideal leader who could protect and support all living entities. Then Suridam Nandivardhana. He was very joyful, and in the company of his friends, he used to increase their pleasure very much. That is also a great quality of a great personality. He has consideration about his friends and make them also always happy. We see these qualities. Suridam Nandivardhana, Lord Krishna. He used to please his friends so much by his dress. Lord Krishna's dress was so attractive. His own personal beauty, loving glances and smile, moon-like face, and his gestures, and his singing, playing the flute, dancing. Lord Krishna was in every way very pleasing, and he would attract all his friends, the Gopas and the Gopis, and always increase their pleasure. There was not a single moment that the Gopas and Gopis were bored in his association. At every moment, pleasure was increasing. Nandivardhana. This is a very high quality. And as we see here, as Prithu, being incarnation of the Lord, the same quality at the highest extent is to be seen in Lord Krishna, who is pleasing all his friends more and more at every moment. Mukta Sangha Prasangoyam, Lord Prithu Maharaj used to keep association with liberated persons. So this is the standard of a spiritual person. He will serve the sadhus. He will take advice from them, Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, sadhus. He will be very humbly serving their lotus feet, keeping their association, and never giving them any trouble. Always try to please the sadhus. So that is the meaning, Mukta Sangha Prasangoyam. Because in the association of devotees only, one can make always progress in spiritual life. Spiritual life is not static, that at a certain point I have achieved perfection. Now I don't need anything now. I can retire. I don't need any association of sadhus. I can give up that. I can go alone and pursue my spiritual life. That is not a good sign for a person who has been trained in spiritual life to give up the association of sadhus or devotees. And especially Srila Prabhupada also never gave any encouragement for such practice or of going alone and practicing Krishna consciousness. Such solitary practice, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj also was warning all his followers, disciples, that such solitary practice is simply a breeding ground for material desire to again develop association with women and money matters, considering that this also will give us happiness in life. If we are simply alone, then we are bored. We want association. And that means if we have already renounced the association of devotees, then we have the other type of association, which is against the principles of spiritual life. So Srila Prabhupada and the other acharyas, they have always told their followers to remain always in association with devotees. That is the principle by which we can remain in Krishna consciousness. So even Prithu Maharaj, such an exalted personality, he used to keep association. So it doesn't mean that he is partial. He has equal vision, but at the same time he understands the higher aspect of spiritual life to keep association with devotees, and also as a king, his duty is dandapani asadhushu. There are sadhus and also asadhus are there. The opposite elements, those who are impious and sinful, the king will punish them. That is the duty of the leader. He cannot remain indifferent towards the offenders, those who are troubling people, those who are thieves and rogues and criminals. They have to be suppressed. They have to be punished. Srila Prabhupada was praising the king of Kashmir. The Kashmir kingdom was well known for the king, and the king was very strict. For instance, if anybody is caught stealing, his hand would be cut. That would be the punishment. So very strict, stringent punishment. So Prabhupada mentions this. This is the actual ideal king. He is able to enforce and punish the miscreants in this manner, in such a manner that there would not be any theft in the kingdom. Because people would be so much afraid that if I'm caught stealing, my hand will be cut. Or they would be so much afraid. You could keep any property, you don't have to close your door. Your house would be kept open, but there is no danger. Nobody would dare to come in and steal anything. The punishment would be so severe. So that Prabhupada was considering this is the ideal government, that the asadhus have no scope to do any criminal activity in this manner. So dandapani asadhushu. The king should not be equal-minded. Of course, from the spiritual viewpoint, even asadhus are also to be considered. And any punishment given to a sadhu, to a criminal, that is only for his benefit. So they can be benefited in that manner, by way of punishment. Sadhus are benefited by serving them, and asadhus by punishing them. This is equal vision, benefiting everyone, and including all the living entities. So this is the ideal king, King Prithu. In this way, he has these qualities. We can end here. Any other questions or comments? All right. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.